Donald Trump, he has definitely made billions of dollars. So could he also make the next president of the United States? Texas Governor Rick Perry is the latest Republican candidate to seek the Donald's blessing. And Perry did receive praise, but not an all-out endorsement. Senior political editor Mark Preston in Washington. Okay, Mark, saying that he's probably the godfather is a little too strong, but he's definitely a stop on the way to the top.
Yeah, he certainly has this election cycle. Donald Trump has been a must-get if you are running for president. We've already seen Sarah Palin sit down and eat pizza with him and talk to him. We're going to see Mitt Romney stop by in a couple of weeks as well to talk to Donald Trump. And, of course, Rick Perry, the Texas governor, was there last night. They had dinner in New York City. They also met. What's also interesting, Kira, is that Rick Perry also met with 3 of Donald Trump's children, Don, Ivanka, and Eric as well. You know, I spoke to Michael Cohen, who is Trump's top political advisor. I just got off the phone with him. Cohen said that he spent some time with Perry as well. They talked about the economy. They talked about jobs. They talked about family. These are all topics that we would expect to come up during the conversation with Donald Trump. So what's the takeaway from Trump? Well, Cohen tells me that Trump likes him as an individual and that he also likes what Perry has done in Texas as far as creating jobs and also to make it a pro-business state. But Donald Trump is not ready to make any endorsements yet. As I said, Mitt Romney will be in New York in a couple of weeks to meet with Donald Trump, Kara.
All right, well, and he hasn't ruled out his own presidential bid, right?
No, he is leaving that on the table. You know, Donald Trump, if he endorses in this presidential election and that person gets the nomination, then of course he says he won't run. But Cohen tells me that they are preparing for Trump to run in June of 2012, if you can imagine that, just a few months before the election would actually take place. That would happen after The Apprentice comes off air on NBC. Trump would run as an independent. However, at this point, though, I think Trump is seriously surveying the field, and the chance of him really running right now, I think, is slim, Kara. But as Donald Trump always does, he leaves everything on the table. And in fact, Michael Cohen has a website up called shouldtrumprun.com, which is going to serve as a hub for Trump's candidacy if he decides to run. All
right, Mark, thanks. Meanwhile, the attacks are getting much sharper between Rick Perry and Michele Bachmann, but the most damage against the Congresswoman may be coming from a former member of her inner circle. CNN political reporter Shannon Travis in Des Moines, Iowa. So, Shannon, what exactly do we know about this insider?
Yeah, I mean, this insider, his name is Ron Carey. He's Michele Bachmann's former chief of staff, and he has some pretty stinging words, Kira, for his former boss. Now, let me just set this up. You know that Rick Perry and Michele Bachmann are basically almost trying to play to their supporters who's more conservative. Michele Bachmann criticized Rick Perry on Monday at our Tea Party debate about this 2007 executive order that he signed requiring young Texas school children, girls, to get this HPV vaccine to prevent cervical cancer. Okay, so Michele Bachmann, she's been hitting him on that, saying, you know what, basically implying would a real conservative do this. On Tuesday on the Today Show, Michele Bachmann went on and said, you know what, I heard from a woman who told me that her daughter took this HPV vaccine and then suffered from mental retardation afterwards. Now, health experts say that that's just not possible. So this sounds like a gaffe from Michele Bachmann. But take a listen at that former chief of staff that I just mentioned. Take a listen at what he had to say about his boss.
Her impulsive nature, coupled with the fact that she sometimes doesn't digest information as carefully as she should, leads to these kind of impulsive statements that sometimes are just off the mark enough that it makes her into more of a provocative, controversial figure.
Now, that's what her former chief of staff had to say. The Bachmann campaign released a statement to CNN, Kira. I'm just going to read it here. Quote, Governor Perry abused his power of the executive order in imposing mandatory vaccines on 12-year-old girls and engaged in crony capitalism with donors in sealing the deal. That's the truth. But notice, Kira, notice they did not address this linkage that Congresswoman Bachmann made between the HPV vaccine and mental retardation, which, again, health experts tell us is not true. One last thing, Bachmann mentioned in that statement crony capitalism. She accused Perry of that. Perry denies that. At issue there was a former chief of staff of Perry's who worked for the drug manufacturer that made that vaccine. Kira?
Shannon Travis. Thanks so much. And also later this morning, House Speaker John Boehner will formally swear in the two newest members of Congress. Republicans Bob Turner and Mark Modi won special elections in their home states of New York and Nevada, respectively. Now, Republicans say the victories are a clear referendum against President Obama and his policies. And now, one Democratic guru says the administration needs to recognize the sobering reality. It's time to, quote, panic. Democratic strategist James Carville has strong advice for the White House now, beginning with this. Fire somebody. No, fire a lot of people. This may be news to you, but this is not going well. Carville even evokes one of the worst military disasters in history, saying, quote, for precedent, see Russian Army 64th Division at Stalingrad. Well, next hour, our Political Buzz panel will weigh in on this and debate it. Meanwhile, for all the latest political news, go to our website, cnnpolitics.com. And happening right now, 2 people are dead after a fire engulfed a cruise ship off the coast of Norway. Let's get straight to Max Foster. He's in London. Max, what exactly do you know?
Yeah, we think the 2 people that died were crew members. This is a fire that started in the engine room of a cruise ship. Some horrific images coming out from Norway right now. And actually, the fire took hold in quite an isolated area near the town of Alesund. So what you've got is a situation where the local fire department, a town of only 40,000 people, a local fire department are trying to deal with this. 2 people have died. None of the passengers, none of the cruisers, as it were injured or hurt. There are more than 200 of them. They've ended up at a local hospital trying to get them home. But a dreadful situation for this cruise ship company and the local area. And people from all over the world were travelling on this ship, Kira, so we're trying to get more details. But that's what we have so far. 2 people have died, 9 injured, a fire in the engine room on that cruise ship in Norway. Max, let us know when you get more. Appreciate it.
Also overseas, a banking giant says that one of its traders went rogue and blundered away $2 billion in unauthorized deals. Christine Romans, is following it for us out of New York. So, Christine, this raises questions about a lack of oversight once again in the banking industry.
Well, I mean, when you're talking about a potential $2 billion hole, that's an awful lot of money. How could this happen? They're calling it unauthorized trading from UBS. They're not using the word rogue trader, but there was an arrest, we know, in London of a 31-year-old for abuse of his financial position. So a lot of people are looking to see what we can learn more about this 31-year-old person who's been arrested here. But we've got a long history of some very big gaffes, quite frankly. I mean, when you hear these rogue trader stories, you think, don't they have the processes to make sure this doesn't happen? Here's a couple of infamous rogue traders. You might remember Jerome Kerviel. This was a Societe Generale story of a few years back. That was a $6 billion trading scandal. There was another one that was a Sumitomo metal trader scandal. That was $2.6 billion as well. And you might not remember this one. It was about 1999. This was in the 90s. Barings Bank, Nick Leeson, became a household name. A $1 billion trading fraud basically took down an entire bank. I mean, you think of that one person, sitting there at the computer could take down a whole bank. So UBS says it's going to have to post a loss, Kira, but that the health of the bank is still intact. Something interesting as well, the UBS logo, Kira, is 3 keys. Those keys stand for confidence, security, and discretion.
I'll be talking a lot more about this story for sure, Christine.
Sure will.
Well, the search for the elusive leader Muammar Gaddafi still in full gear. And right here in the U.S., the Pentagon is still concerned that the fall of this ousted leader could lead to a rise in terrorism. CNN Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr following that for us. So, Barbara, what exactly do we know about this possible terrorist infiltration?
Well, Kira, what Pentagon officials and defense officials are telling us is they are growing increasingly concerned that al-Qaeda, other terrorist groups, may be trying to gain a foothold in Libya now that Gaddafi is gone, and this new transitional national council still doesn't have a really firm grip on the country. This is an analysis. They say that, they really don't know for sure. They don't think thousands of fighters from al-Qaeda are moving into Libya, but they are worried that perhaps dozens of fighters are gaining a toehold there, getting an organization and a network going while the country there remains so uncertain. This is the perfect time for them to set up shop, keep a low profile while there's not a firm central government in control, and gain their toehold. And of course, in Libya, the concern always is there's thousands of weapons basically floating around that country now with no real government control, and that's the kind of thing they don't want terrorists to get a hold of. Kira?
Well, and there's concerns that terrorists could be working on the inside within the National Transitional Council.
Well, you know, there is concern that people with terrorist sympathies, perhaps, are part of the TNC, working with the TNC. Again, they don't see any evidence of any kind of official linkage at this point. But even just yesterday, the top U.S. general in charge of U.S. military relations with Africa said he was concerned about the growing terrorist toehold in Africa, everywhere from Nigeria in the west across North Africa, Libya, Somalia, all of it. So a lot of concern that Africa itself may be becoming the new safe haven for terrorist organizations. Kara?
Barbara Starr live at the Pentagon. Barbara, thanks. Well, it's the highest military decoration. And today, the president awards the Medal of Honor to a U.S. Marine. Dakota Myers saved the lives of 36 U.S. and Afghan comrades. He also braved withering gunfire to try to recover the bodies of 4 Marines who died in that 2009 shootout. Myers says he'll accept the Medal of Honor, the men he calls his brothers.
Every single day I think about what happened and how I'm going to carry on my life and honor those guys. And I think what it does is it gives you an edge to everyone else, because, you know, it's not just me. You know, I'm not just going around for myself now. Now I'm doing it for other people, and I think once you have that instilled in you, it gives you an extra edge. You know, if I can't look down and I don't have a reason to push on, I've got 4 reasons on my wrist, and that's why I keep their names on my wrist.
Meyer met with the president over a beer yesterday on the patio outside the Oval Office. The 23-year-old Kentucky native is the first living Marine to receive the Medal of Honor for actions in Afghanistan or Iraq.